Here we go. We're going to talk about information systems. A little review. We have management. And we have information. And the idea is to figure out what information goes to who in order to make decisions. Okay? So we've covered the levels of management, we've covered the levels of information. Strategic information, tactical, day in and day out, tactical stuff, and then transaction processing. First line supervisors, some type of middle management, top level management. Alright, so we've covered here, we've covered here. So let's move on, viewing that quite a bit. Let's move on and talk about decisions. So make sure you read the lead-in part, and of course the video. Structured decisions. Structured decisions are decisions that can be made by technology. They're clear decisions. Based on a number, a decision can be made, or based on a situation, a decision can be made. Okay? Semi-structured are a little more difficult for technology to make. Okay? There's more of a gray area between deciding one thing or another. Non-structured decisions are decisions that have lots of variation, very subjective. Okay? So, you're going to decide who to marry. It might be more non-structured here in America, and it might be more structured in another country where somebody lines you up with somebody. There's no wiggle room, there's no choice there, it's where it is, or somewhere in between. What a company is going to sell this year, what's going to be popular, what's not going to be popular, some of that's non-structured decisions. Some decisions within a company can be very structured. For example, at a store, as soon as the inventory, let's say that here's some inventory, as soon as the inventory gets to a certain point, now this point here might have been a semi-structured decision, okay, based on data and a little bit of anticipation. But a structured decision is once the inventory hits this point, the computer system can order more products. Okay? Makes sense. Once let's use another scenario, once a refrigerator, if the temperature inside the coolers at Fairway or something, if they hit a certain point and go below it, somebody's notified. It's a structured decision. There's a point there, it can make a decision. Yep, it can send an email, send off an alarm or something, because something's wrong in the cooler. You're manufacturing. Okay, some more decisions. So you're putting pudding in a bowl. Okay, and these are all the weights. And as long as you stay between some standard deviation, you're okay to advertise that there's 8 ounces of pudding in the bowl. And then all of a sudden this happens. And in most manufacturing that I'm aware of, as soon as you get so many measurements over one side of the average, especially as they approach your standard deviation, whatever that might be here, the manufacturing could stop. The line could stop because obviously you have an equipment error or a software error where you're putting too much pudding in the dishes. Okay? So you can make a decision, a structured decision, a semi-structured, or non-structured decision. When we get to non-structured, we talk a little bit more about that when we use artificial intelligence to help us make non-structured decisions. Like, I don't know, non-structured, the final decision on who to hire. It might be quite a bit non-structured. You're going to use data, are they qualified, and some structured things. They got to have a degree in a certain thing, or they got to have this, or they got to have this. So you got the structured part might be easy. Semi-structured, well, yeah, their degree could be in computer science, but we would also take maybe math or something else. Then eventually there's some items there that's going to end up being a non-structured decision on who to hire. Boy, how do you like all that? Let's move forward. I think most of you could probably think of lots of decisions in your life that fit into those different categories. Information flow. If we were to look at our diagram again, we draw a pyramid usually for a good reason. Down here sits the data. It actually, I would say, sits down here below where it moves up. So we have this, storage, and it could be local, it could be in the cloud. You've learned all that, okay? Where the data resides could be all kinds of options. And then what we need to do is we need to have software take the data and get it to the people we need. Okay? Nowadays, a lot of data is current. It's really current. I mean, you can use systems like let's say the CEO wants to know a specific thing about the company. He or she could probably drill into the data and pull up just the information they need. Okay? Summarize data in a lot of places, and that's why the diagram looks like it does. In order to make strategic decisions, like, are we going to build a new Walmart in Clear Lake, even though there's a Walmart in Mason City? They don't flip a coin to decide that. Walmart has an unbelievable amount of data that can tell them based on internal data and external data, like population growth, the economic level of the particular town, and blah, 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 and how much, are there people there they could hire, and so forth. And so they bring in all the external data, match it with their internal data, and they're able to summarize the data into something that has value to the CEO. It's huge. I mean, it's a big deal. Data analytics there's a whole career in data analytics now, because we have so much data. But how do we get out just the data somebody knows? When do we need detailed data? And when do we need summarized data? And that whole range in between. Okay? So that's where we're at. Now, let's talk about a couple other things here. And then there's a couple things on another page that we'll look at here briefly before we're done. Okay? We have transaction processing. Typically, there's all kinds of software now that does transactions. We talked about that before. If we were to look at, we have all the data here in a database, moving that data in and out of there, doing transactions at this first level. Lots of work here. Okay, you could just imagine every time you buy something from Amazon, you got a transaction, you get the data, and then you have an outside resource. They go get, Amazon gets the money from the bank and gets to the right people and the right product. Then they communicate to the shipping, and the shipping sends it out, and you can just see it, can't you? It's just amazing how all that works. So we have the actual transactions. Management information systems, they usually manage moving the data through the system. Okay? And we're going to talk about developing those later on. You can buy simple ones. You could buy QuickBooks and run your business, and it would do a lot of this work that you need. It would do the transactions, it would do payroll, and it'll do reports, so you kind of know what's going on. MIS. Entire degrees. People get degrees in MIS. The next two we're not going to spend much on, but there's software you can buy, decision support systems to help you make decisions, help executives make decisions. So these you can buy them pre-made. There's all kinds of companies out there that help you manage information and so forth. They write specific software for certain companies, or some software is more horizontal that works in multiple companies, and we talked about vertical, horizontal software, and so forth. Okay? Bottom line, we are accumulating huge amounts of data, and somehow we have to use software, because we can't do it by hand anymore. We have to use software to take that and get the right information to the right place at the right time. And some of that's crucial. It's just crucial. The software has to make a decision in a split second. Let me give you a great example. I'm going to give you two more examples here. Airbags. In your car, there is an operating system managing lots of functions in your car. Okay? One of those functions is deploying the airbag. Okay? If that operating system's currently working on your Bluetooth, or there's Wi-Fi in the tires to keep track of the air pressure in some cars and so forth. It's crazy. But as soon as there's a crash, as soon as that operating system gets this impact at the front, there has to be an interrupt, and that operating system has to deploy the airbag right now. It can't reboot, it can't sit there, it can't think about it, it can't be slow. It's got to deploy the airbag right now. Okay? So there's an example. The data, you get some data input, and in some cases the software has to respond immediately. And that would be, most of that car would be managed mostly by the OS, the operating system, and be a specific operating system for whatever car you have, whatever company. All right. So I think that's enough for that right now.